I know this probably isn't your area of specialty, but one of the things we're investigating is how people feel about the alien autopsy footage. Do you have any opinions on that?
Well, yes, I do. I was in on it from almost the beginning. I interviewed Ray Santilli in London, and he said that he was in the music business, and he evidently is in the music business. I know what the current thoughts, that the body, was a construct made by a special effects artist. I'm sorry, but I don't believe it. I think somebody is taking credit for something they didn't do. That's my personal opinion. Now, I sat with about 17 other physicians when this came out, and we looked at it. We didn't recognize the internal organs either, surgeons or myself. But the techniques that were used to dissect the body are real techniques that we're trained to use in taking apart a human body. And those are they're little idiosyncrasies that if a cameraman was to film it and then have guidance from a special effects artist to build a dummy, they would have to have a tremendous amount of background knowledge. I mean, the money that would have to be spent to do something like this would be far more than what you would get out of it. And another one of the shots in the autopsy film, when the leg is raised and the knee is bent, if you look at it frame by frame, you'll see that the thigh externally rotates. Well, this is how it works in a human being. So again, in order to do this in an artificial way, you would have to employ the services of a kinesiologist, so that in 4 frames of the film, it would be so intricate you'd have to show the external rotation of the thigh. Well, again, it's not logical. It doesn't make sense to me. And again, you ask my personal opinion. I think that this may have been a training film that maybe some branch of the military was using for training physicians in the field, that when they came upon crash sites, and there was bodies, this is what would happen. So I don't know. I don't think anybody will know truly until something happens down the line.
So as a physician, you feel like the procedures were really too accurate for it to be a hoax?
Exactly. It's just the techniques that were used for dissection and the way the tissues came apart. Now, I'm working on a large screen film on the UFO subject in some of my work, and it's not a documentary, it's an entertainment film. But I'm well aware of what special effects artists can do. And for example, to make blood, you have instruments like a blood knife, and when you cut, it releases liquid that looks like blood. If you look again closely at this film, the blood that you see on the film, or whatever is supposed to be blood, does not come out of the knife. It comes from the inside of the tissues. So again, if you would have to be a true genius in the creation of an entity in which you could put little maybe latex blood vessels and have some fluid come out. And it's just too much work for what they got out of it.
And are many of your colleagues in the scientific community, are they in agreement on this?
Well, let's not say the scientific community, because the scientific community doesn't have much to do with subjects like this. But the medical community that is associated with me, that looked at the film, all was in agreement that they didn't know what it was, and that it did not represent something that we know is common pathology. You can have, for example, the multidactyly, more than one finger. One of the things that happens in nature when you have multidactyly is that you'll find one of two things. Either one finger is a clone of another. In other words, if we had two second fingers, that one would be exactly the same length as the other. If we look at the parabola of fingers on a human hand, it has a parabola. Fingers are not the same size. So when these things happen in nature as a mutation or a congenital defect, you would either see two that would be the same size, or the other kind is just a little stump of a digit that's left, and the stump can be amputated, and then the hand or the foot will appear normal. In the film, when they showed both the hand and the foot, there was a perfect parabola of the 6 digits. So that's another thing that's sort of strange.